So hello everyone. So now I'm the reporter for today's topic, the module 26, the revisiting the 14 learner centered psychosocial principles. So let us start. First is the learner-centered instruction by Agent and Chuck Hook. The three characteristics of learner-centered instruction. First, learners are at the center of learning process. So the learners must be at the learner centered. So when we talk about learner centered, it is more on the learners. Next is student centered environment as opposed to teacher centered setup. So that's it. Learners are given more choices, activities, and designed to their needs and interests, developmental levels, and of learners in foremost consideration. So that is the learner centered. Next is the teachers guide students constructions of understanding. Like teachers provide lots of activities for learners. That's one example. Another example is teachers as a guide on their side rather than sage on the stage. Yeah, the teachers must guide always in the side of the learners so that the learners could know what the right path they're going on or what they're going to learning. Next is number 3, teachers teach for understanding. Like for example, students are placed at the center of the learning process what I discussed earlier, that the student must at the center of the learning process. Next is teachers help students to take responsibility for their learning. Yeah, that is a very good example that teacher must help students to take responsibility for their learnings of the student. Next is learner-centered psychosocial principles. The 14 principles have the following aspects. Like for example, focus on psychosocial factors that are primarily internal to and under the control of the learners rather than conditioned habits or psychosocial factors. And the other one is intended to deal holistically with learners in the context of real world situation. So the learner centers is divided into 4. The first is the cognitive and the metacognitive. When we hear the word cognitive, it's our minds or the metacognitive. Next is the letter B, excuse me, motivational and effective. Letter C, developmental and social. And lastly, the individual differences factor. So that is the 4 divided at the learner centered. Next is the metacognitive factors. Is it number 1 is nature of the learning process, number 2 goal of the learning process, construction of the knowledge, strategic thinking, or the next is thinking about thinking, the lastly context of learning. Then what about the motivational and effective factors? It is a motivational and emotional influences on the learning. The next is intrinsic motivation. When we say a word intrinsic, it is inside of our, it is inside. Yeah, when we say intrinsic. Next is effects of motivation on efforts. Next, developmental and social factors. Like for example, developmental influences on learning. Next is social influences on learning. So that is the developmental and social factors. Next is the individual differences on learning. Yeah, on learning. The individual differences on learning, like for example, the learning and diversity standard of assessment. So that is the individual differences on learning. So that is my topic for today. So essay. So the revisiting the learner-centered psychosocial principles. So we have the first we have the cognitive and metacognitive. Next is motivational and affective. Next, developmental and social. The lastly, individual differences factor. So, that is my topic for today. Thank you. Bye.